What's up, everyone? It's Lan here with another episode of the Cheeseheadz Weekly podcast. We are going to hopefully have a lot of fun on today's episode, answering a few questions from some followers, I guess, on X, and some Packers fans, some non-Packers fans, answering a few questions, and I have a main Packers topic to address for, the first time in a little bit, and then I'm gonna go ahead and rattle off my top 10 head coaches in the NFL right now. So we'll get into that. Should be a really fun episode, and but before we start with that, I would like for you to check out the Q&As and polls. If you're listening on Spotify, they are there for you and for your enjoyment, and of course for my enjoyment. And so if you could participate in those, that would be fantastic. There's a link in the description of every episode to send in a voice message, so you can send in any question you want to there. And of course, any other comment you'd like to make about the show, or about my stupid takes, or whatever else you would like to say. I'm sure Bears fans wouldn't mind chiming in. The show is available anywhere you get podcasts, all the audio platforms except for perhaps Amazon Music. Not sure who uses that to listen to podcasts, but that is one that I do not have the show on. The show is available in video form as well for all you that like to watch me speak. I am available on YouTube at Cheeseheadz_Weekly. Check me out there. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. You can hit the bell icon as well to be notified when a new episode comes out every week. And you can do that on Spotify as well if you're listening there. Be sure to tell your friends about the show if you like the show. Why not tell your friends about it, And of course, you can always give us a good rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That is really helpful in growing the show. You can follow me on social media at Cheeseheadz_Weekly. On X, I am at Cheeseheadz_W. Everywhere else, it's at Cheeseheadz_Weekly. And of course, we have the website at greatcove.net/cheeseheads, where you can find all our episodes. You can leave a comment there as well, and find out where you can listen and or watch the show. All right, so we'll get into it. And my main Packers topic for the show, and actually I had a guy on X ask for this very same thing, at Hot Take City 904. I believe he's a Giants fan. But he asked me who will finish as the Packers wide receiver one, and that correlates very well with my topic, which is, do the Packers need a wide receiver one on this team? Does Jordan Love need a number one wide receiver to throw to? There's been rumors that the Packers could trade for T. Higgins, who is currently on the franchise tag for the Cincinnati Bengals, and Packers obviously have a great wide receiver room, lots of great options, and all of them are very young. But there, again, has been plenty of discussion, especially from non-Packers fans and people that, don't know quite as much. But around X, you see a lot of people wondering, shouldn't the Packers get a wide receiver one? Well, my take is they really don't need one, because look at all the options they have here. Now, their top receiver, or I guess what you could call their wide receiver one, was Jaden Reed, a rookie last year, the ripe old age of 23 years old. He played in 16 games, finished with 64 receptions on 94 targets, 793 yards. That is 12.4 yards per reception. He finished with 8 touchdowns. His catch percentage was 68.1%. Yards per target was 8.4. and he also got some rushing attempts as well. So he had 75 total touches. He had 11 rushing attempts for 119 yards and 2 touchdowns as well. So very, not a huge stat line, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Not a big, beefy wide receiver one stat line, like a CeeDee Lamb or a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill. You can go on and on and on. Not that. He didn't even break 1,000 yards, okay? In other words, that's what I'm saying. Normally, you like to have a top wide receiver that can do that year after year. Packers don't seem to have one of those, although I think there are some options, and I think many of these guys could eventually develop into wide receiver ones. Keep in mind that all of these guys are under 25 years old. The closest guy to 25 is Christian Watson. He is entering his 3rd year in the NFL now. He was 4th in yards behind Reed, Romeo Doubs, and Dontavian Wicks, but he only played in 9 games, which tells you he was pretty efficient, and the stats back it up. Yards per reception was 15.1, more than any other guy. Wicks was the closest with 14.9 yards per reception, which is very good as well, very efficient at the wide receiver position. So Christian Watson, out of the 4 main targets, main wide receivers, and this is not even including Bo Melton, who really came on at the end of the season, but out of the 4 top producing wide receivers, top 4 in receiving yards, Christian Watson had the least amount of targets, 53, least amount of receptions, 28. His catch percentage was also the lowest of the 4, Reed, Doubs, Wicks, and Watson, 52.8%. He had 5 touchdowns, but again, he only played in 9 games, struggled with a lot of injury, and I think Christian Watson, if you look at kind of when he's on the field, the traits he has, the athletic ability he has, the speed he has the potential, to be that prototypical outside number 1 guy for a team, and he has flashed that ability at times. And I do believe that if he gets more playing time, if he can stay on the field for a more extended period of time, I think Christian Watson has some of that potential to maybe be that number 1 wide receiver that so many people think the Packers need. Now, here's the deal. It's possible. I believe in the talents of a lot of these guys, and I think actually Dontavian Wicks has as good a chance of anyone as being their number 1 wide receiver, a 5th-round pick entering his 2nd year. And I know that sounds crazy. There has been a good bit of hype among the Packers faithful building kind of around Dontavian Wicks. And I'll get into that. But here's the deal. One of these guys, I like the talent of all of them. Bo Melton as well. He only played 5 games, but did very well when he was on the field. And kind of came on late in the season. But all that aside, it's possible that the Packers next season, with this group of wide receivers, again, do not have a wide receiver to crack 1,000 yards. To me, that's not even a problem. If no one emerges next year, I don't have a whole lot of problem with that. You saw what they did last year. Again, we have a full year of tape, so defenses can scheme against Jordan Love a little bit. I understand that. We also struggled with a lot of injuries. Again, Christian Watson missed a good chunk of the year. Luke Musgrave, their number 1 tight end, missed a fair chunk of the year, played in 11 games. Bo Melton again came on right at the end of the year. He didn't even play the full season as, kind of a main target in the offense. There are so many options that teams can't keep track of all these guys, and plus there's so many of them, you can't have them all on the field together, so that means someone's going to be on that bench resting, and you're swapping guys out. You got fresh legs out there all the time. All these guys do something a little bit different, slightly different skill set. And that's what I love about this offense, and we saw it last year. That's part of the reason none of these guys cracked 1,000 yards is just the fact that Jordan Love was spreading the ball around so much. And I think sometimes that's underrated in itself. Everyone's like, oh, we got to have this great, fantastic, number one superstar wide receiver like a Davante Adams, which is a guy that, the Packers fans are familiar with and are, have been around, are used to seeing him with the Packers and being that number one superstar guy. So we think we need another one to kind of replace Davante Adams. Some people are saying we haven't yet replaced him. Well, I think sometimes it can just be a group effort. And we saw a few years ago, the Packers lost in the divisional round. And a few people after that game pointed out that late in that game, Rodgers was targeting Davante Adams in double and triple coverage. And when, there were other wide receivers like potentially an Allen Lazard running wide open across the field, but Rodgers only trusted that one guy that was his go-to man. And if you take out that one guy, we saw this with the Dolphins in the playoffs. Teams try to take away Tyreek Hill, and when they do that, the Dolphins' offense really struggles to get going. And, they even have Jalen Waddle, too, so they have multiple options. But I think there's something to be said for spreading the ball around. The defense can't focus on that one guy, and you have, Jaden Reed, that smaller, quick guy, that gadget-type player, can do a little bit of everything. Slot type of guy, but definitely has that my ball mentality when the ball is in the air. You got a Romeo Doubs, who is a pretty technical route runner, plays, outside receiver, just kind of that possession receiver. And just a fun stat for Romeo Doubs, of those, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, of any other receiver on or running back or tight end, anyone who caught passes for the Packers, he had the most first downs of anyone. And I think that speaks volumes, and I kind of saw it on the field. If you remember last season, Romeo Doubs was kind of that go-to guy in the red zone and in third down situations, just extending the drive, getting that first down. And his yards, let me see here, yards per reception were lower than anyone else. Lower than the four main guys, and lower than Bo Melton, lower than the other three main guys and Bo Melton. But he was just kind of that possession receiver, got the first downs, and an emphasis for him has been, I think, during the offseason, playing faster, making plays after the catch, trained with Jaden Reed to kind of get some of, Jaden Reed has that after the catch ability, and so they kind of worked off each other, or maybe that was Dontavian Wicks and Jaden Reed, actually. But Matt LaFleur did, I remember, speak on Romeo Doubs just being able to play faster and hopefully pick up more yards after the catch this coming year. So that's, Romeo Doubs is still an ascending player. I know a lot of people already kind of have name fatigue with him, with all these other new flashy options coming up, but Romeo Doubs is still someone I'm very high on and seems to be kind of Love's go-to target. So right now, if you ask me who is Jordan Love's wide receiver one, or who he would consider, I know he wouldn't actually say it out loud to anyone, but I think it's Romeo Doubs. He's been, last year in training camp, was his go-to target. Throughout the season, he was kind of his go-to guy in critical situations. But again, Love trusted everyone, and he really spread that ball around. So if I had to guess, to answer the question that I was sent, I would guess that if Christian Watson stays healthy, he will finish as the Green Bay Packers wide receiver 1 in 2024. Now, if he doesn't stay healthy or is not on the field a lot, whatever, then I think it will probably be, I think as, kind of the sleeper guy could be Dontavian Wicks. Really showed a lot as a route runner. Was actually pretty shifty after the catch as well. I mean, his yards per reception was 14.9, very close to Watson's numbers, and we all know Watson, is great after the catch just because of his speed and ability to destroy angles, pursuit angles that defenders try to take on him. So Wicks is very, very much a sleeper that I could see doing a lot this coming year, and I really like his skill set and his ability, and I think he has the potential to develop into a 1 as well. So really, I think the Packers aren't really stressing about that. I think they're totally fine just to use all these guys together. I mean, don't discount Malik Heath, who made a few big plays throughout the course of the year. I mean, he's an undrafted guy. Bo Melton, 7th-round pick. He really came on towards the end of the year. And, of course, you got the 2 tight ends, Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave, who both made some meaningful plays, caught passes, gained some yards. And, of course, I think the Packers want to use Josh Jacobs in the passing game as well, and potentially, rookie Marshawn Lloyd. So I think they have an abundance of options in the passing game, and so I am just excited to see how it all plays out. Really, I think the Packers are just, we'll wait and see if someone really emerges, but I don't think this is a really big need for them, and I don't think it really needs to be, because I think this is a really good problem to have, and you don't really need that one guy to have all the production, just be a team player, and yeah, I think that will really be good for this team. All right, so I believe I got another question here, possibly more, as I'm checking my feed here. All right, I don't think I got any more questions, but I do have one from at Pack Weekly Pod on X. Be sure to check them out. But what position group? I'm not actually reading the exact question. But what position group? Which position are you most looking forward to watching in training camp? So I'm very interested in looking at the defense. I think we know, for the most part, what the offense is going to look like. Obviously, the offensive line, there could be some shuffling, and obviously, I'm always excited to watch these receivers, continue to grow. But I think I kind of know, all these guys are going to be great again. And I am interested in seeing how Watson looks, if he can finally put these hamstring injuries behind him. But I'm looking more at the defense. I like, we hired Jeff Hafley, of course. This is an exciting group. Lots of young players here, lots of talent here. And I think the secondary especially, and I realize that's more than one position, but cornerback and safety are the ones I'm really looking forward to seeing. If I had to pick one, I guess I'd go cornerback. Obviously, I'm excited to watch Xavier McKinney and, Javon Bullard, some of the young guys. They drafted Evan Williams and Gaetano Ladapo as well. But at corner, Jair Alexander is obviously the number one, and I'm excited to watch him. I want to see him get really motivated. So far it seems like he's doing everything right in the offseason. I want that to continue, to watch him Hopefully, be that lockdown number one guy, all pro level Jair again. And then I'm excited for the battle for the cornerback 2 spot. We got Eric Stokes, again, returning from injury. Struggled with hamstring injuries as well. Went to the same specialist that Watson went to. And so I am excited to see, if he can finally get back to form, because I've been just hoping that he could get back to his rookie year form, which was pretty good for a rookie. And so now it's time for him to finally, hopefully, get back on the field, be able to take that step. He says he's feeling better than he'd ever felt before. Coaches seem to agree that he looks great. Best football ahead of him, whatever. I mean, that's off season, but the fact that the coaches and the player are saying the same thing certainly means a lot. And of course, Carrington Valentine didn't have such a bad rookie year himself, and these guys both are kind of similar, slender builds, fast, speedy type corners. So I'm excited to see the battle between these two guys. I really, really like what I've seen from them, and I just hope Stokes can get his career back on track. I'd love to see him carve out a role there in that cornerback spot. So, yeah, I guess that's what the cornerback room is what I'm most excited to watch. And, of course, that slot position, Keyshawn Nixon, I'm looking at him, hoping he can take a little step forward there as well as the slot corner, because there's always room for improvement. So, yeah, thanks for that question. Cornerbacks. Excited to see what they can do. All right. Don't have a whole ton more of time here, so we're going to run through the top 10 NFL head coaches right now. My rankings. We're going to run through them pretty rapid fire here. Number 1, pretty obvious, it's Andy Reid. He's got his Chiefs going for the three-peat right now. Just won back-to-back Super Bowls. Patrick Mahomes is on his way to becoming the greatest quarterback of all time. And it's been, fun to watch. There's been plenty of debate. Maybe the Chiefs are America's team. I mean, I think the Cowboys are still America's team because everyone still talks about them, so they must be America's team. They still have lots of fans. That's all anyone can ever talk about in the offseason. Oh, Dak Prescott, Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy, you're going to fire him. And, I mean, there's just always so much going on with the Cowboys, and it really is because of Jerry Jones. I mean, the organization is just so bad that you have tumultuous offseason after tumultuous offseason, and so that's kind of what we got going on. So, yeah, that's kind of besides the point. Andy Reid is number 1, all-time great coach, obviously, and not a whole lot else to say there. Number 2 is Sean McVay, was hired to be the youngest head coach in NFL history. I believe it was NFL history. Became the youngest head coach and is coaching the Los Angeles Rams. Apparently there was interest in a broadcasting career. That seems to be left behind. He got the Rams to win a Super Bowl with Matt Stafford, something he never did in Detroit. Did well with Jared Goff, who is a good quarterback, but certainly not a great one. And he's consistently, we never seem to think these Rams are going to have the pieces to get there. Certainly didn't think so last year, but they got it done. I mean, didn't get it done. Didn't get a Super Bowl. That's nowhere near what we expected. Got to the playoffs and certainly put up a fight. So Sean McVay continues to do it, and obviously Puka Nacua is the big story for that team last year. McVay, one of the best young play callers in this league, along with the number 3 on this list, Kyle Shanahan for the 49ers. They've been good every single year, have made 2 Super Bowls, lost them both. But certainly Shanahan is one of the greatest play callers in the NFL right now. Very creative. The offense is good every single year. The team has been very well put together, knows how to use his players to their strengths. And so Shanahan definitely belongs on this list here at number 3. Number 4 is your own Matt LaFleur, Packers head coach. This is a good bit higher than on some other people's list, and you may say I'm biased. Maybe I am, but guess what? Matt LaFleur, most would agree, is a great coach and is pretty underrated right now. Another great young play caller, kind of from that Shanahan tree. And, I mean, he really kind of took Aaron Rodgers, who was seemingly in decline, and really elevated his play. And then everyone was immediately like, oh, well, it's Aaron Rodgers. Is he really actually a good coach, or is it just Aaron Rodgers carrying this team? Well, we got to see that last year. No Aaron Rodgers, just Jordan Love. And after a rocky start, he had these Packers cruising for a bruising at the end of the year, and they just about got themselves to the NFC Championship. Narrow loss to the 49ers in that divisional round game. But, Matt LaFleur, I think, has proved it at this point and deserves to be top 4 in the NFL. Number 5, Mike Tomlin. Obviously, the stat everyone knows is that the Steelers, since he's taken over, like in 2007 or something, long time ago. By the way, 2007 is the year I was born, so he's been around for a while. And, the Steelers have never had a losing season during his tenure, and that is an absolutely mind-blowing stat, considering they have not had great quarterback play at all while he's been head coach. Kenny Pickett, Ben Roethlisberger wasn't too bad, won a Super Bowl with him. But, I mean, it's just been crazy how he continues to get that team to win games. Obviously, more of a defensive coach. They've had consistently good defenses. Offense has been kind of pieced together, but they always seem to get, to win games at least. And so he's definitely pretty high up on this list. A lot of respect for him around the league, I'm sure. Number 6 is Kevin Stefanski, another coach within the division. I believe he won Coach of the Year this last year. He was very good, taking, obviously, the Browns had 5 quarterbacks take snaps as a starter during the season. And it ended up being the Joe Flacco run that put them into the playoffs. They lost Nick Chubb to injury in week 2. Who he's really kind of the main driving force of that offense, or was before the injury. But they found ways to get things done. Got to the playoffs, lost in the first round to the Texans, but still remarkable feat for Stefanski, and I think he's a really great coach, consistently churning out a really great Browns roster, even with everything, seemingly falling to pieces around him. Number 7 is John Harbaugh. Never been a huge Harbaugh fan, but he does have a Super Bowl win under his belt. Kind of that veteran guy, kind of like Mike Tomlin. I kind of think of them in the same boat. Been coaching for a while. And, the Ravens are consistently good. Obviously, they have not won a ton in the playoffs. Haven't had a ton of playoff success recently, but then again, not all of these coaches have either, including Matt LaFleur and, Mike Tomlin. So, certainly we can give him some grace, and he's another one of those great veteran coaches, and he's got this team playing pretty good. Lamar Jackson looks great, and hopefully they can just get Lamar Jackson to actually make some big wins, take their next step into being a leader and great quarterback in the playoffs and in those big situations. Number 8, another guy from the Shanahan tree rising up, and it is Mike McDaniel. Great personality. He's getting it done with Tua Tagovailoa, who I'm not a huge believer in, but Mike McDaniel seems to be turning him into a great quarterback, and now he's They're looking to extend him to be their franchise guy, building a nice offense over there. They've been a powerhouse offensively. Again, they have not won a ton, but their defense has left something to be desired at times, and so that certainly is part of winning, I guess. You got to have the team. Also, the next guy on the list, number 9, Zach Taylor, head coach for the Cincinnati Bengals. They've been good. They got to the Super Bowl, lost to the Rams, led by Sean McVay, but Taylor, a very good coach. Joe Burrow is now an elite talent at quarterback. If he can stay healthy, this team is definitely in contention year after year. And hey, he even beat Andy Reid and the Chiefs en route to the Super Bowl when they made that Super Bowl run. So that is certainly a grand achievement that you can put on your resume as well. And number 10, rounding out this list, another young guy, also coached for Kyle Shanahan, and that would be DeMeco Ryans, head coach, now and going into just his second year as a head coach for the Houston Texans. Obviously, C.J. Stroud, greatest rookie quarterback ever, at least that's what people are saying. He's slightly overhyped. But no, certainly I really do like Stroud, and I like this team, and he's got a great young team. And I mean, they went from the basement to immediately getting to the playoffs, and they even won a playoff game beating the Browns as well. So great stuff, and he's certainly an ascending coach. Guys, I didn't put on the list. Jim Harbaugh is one, which he was just hired with the Chargers. I didn't follow football very closely when he was a head coach in the NFL, so I don't know much about him. Apparently he's a good coach. I mean, he's related to John Harbaugh. I mean, it would make sense. Certainly would. He was great as a college coach, but I want to see it first, and so I'm just making rankings based on what I think, so don't judge me too much there. But certainly there's other great coaches that I really like in the NFL, but had to squeeze it into just the top 10. So that's what we got. I'll read over it again real quick. Number 1, Andy Reid. Number 2, Sean McVay. Number 3, Kyle Shanahan. Number 4, Matt LaFleur. Number 5, Mike Tomlin. Number 6, Kevin Stefanski. Number 7, John Harbaugh. Number 8, Mike McDaniel. Number 9, Zach Taylor. And number 10, DeMeco Ryans. That will do it for my list. I will just check here real quick. Make sure I don't have any more questions coming in for me to answer. It does not look like I do. And there we go. So that will do it for today's episode. Thank you all for the questions. I didn't send that very quickly before the show, so obviously didn't have a whole lot of time to think that out, but hopefully you enjoyed the show, and I will speak at you later. Go Pack Go.